Welcome to Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to Talking Grit. We are brought to you by Monroe County Reporters, Monroe's top news source for police, fire, and community events. Follow them on Facebook, and for 99 cents a month, you can become a subscriber and get the news you crave even faster. I'm Jason Harwood, and with me again is Jacob Litton. Today we are talking about the Lions schedule. All right, Jacob, I'm going to let you have the floor. How you want to start this?
I'm amped for this one, man. Looking over the schedule, I wish the season was starting right now. It's kind of what happens. This is all we have in the offseason. You got the draft, the schedule comes out, all the what-ifs until training camp. What is your first impression? What do you think of the schedule when you first look at it?
My first impression is, are the Lions ready for prime time? And I don't mean that as, are they ready to play well? I mean it as, we are playing a lot of nationally televised games. It's weird. Just 2 years ago, we were looking at all 1 o'clock games. So now we only have, 4?
Well-deserved change. Looking at it, though, we have the 11th toughest schedule, which we knew about that ahead of time. We knew going in who we were going to play. The way that everything laid out, the way the NFL laid it out, I really think they did us a favor this year. And, most of the time, we don't really get those favors. They did us a solid for the most part. They have a list of the games by miles traveled, and we are actually towards the bottom of that list.
Okay.
So the difference between the number 1 team and the number 32 team is something like 20,000-mile difference.
Wow.
That's huge.
Does that include, international games?
Yes. We don't have any international games. The furthest away I think we have to go is the 49ers, and that's not till the end of the season. There's only 3 games outdoors.
Yeah, I looked at it. It was 14 of the first 15 are indoors, and I think that's good for Goff. I think he plays better indoors, so I like that.
Even when you look at the Thursday games, though. So we play the Thursday games back-to-back, and our game before the Thanksgiving game is against the Indianapolis Colts. Yep. So that's not a very far drive. We're not getting on a plane too far away or anything, playing on a short week. I'm excited about the schedule. I think that we can, obviously, regardless of where we're at, I feel like we can do really good this year. But after looking at the schedule, I feel great about it.
Yeah, I looked at the schedule, and of course, you don't like to see the early week bye. It's one of the first things I think you look at, either is where are my primetime games or where is my bye. When you mention those Thursday night games, that kind of gives us a little late bye, because after the second Thursday game, the week after Thanksgiving, play the Packers, then we have 10 days off. It's not a full bye week.
Right.
Take it when you can get it. I mean, I'm glad that they gave the Lions that Thursday after Thanksgiving, if they're going to give them another Thursday game, so they're not playing 2 short weeks in there.
Right. That's what I'm saying. They're doing us favors.
Yeah, well.
Finally.
I know.
We get the scraps every year. Throw us wherever they can, 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock, no primetime games, and, flip the switch. Finally getting the recognition we deserve.
Yeah, well, when you get to the NFC Championship game and you only add to your team, I mean, we've lost a couple players, but you've added to your team pretty substantially. It's looking good. The NFL, they schedule for around a lot of things, Taylor Swift concerts or whatever. So,
Yeah.
What do you think is the toughest stretch in this schedule that you see?
Well, you look at that 49ers game is going to be a difficult game, and then when you see the games surrounding it, I feel like the toughest stretch is going to be the final couple weeks of the season. Mm-hmm. If you look at the last 5 games that we play, 3 of them are going to be divisional games, yep. And it's going to be Green Bay. We've got the Chicago game, finished out against the Vikings. In between that, we play the Bills and the Niners. Those are all going to be tough games. They're all back-to-back, which, speaks to what you said earlier about the early bye week. We don't have a bye. We don't have a break before that's coming up. Some guys are going to be hurt. It's a long season. There's going to be playoff implications. Obviously, it depends on how the season's going at that point, but right now when you're looking at it, those are all huge games.
They've really backloaded our division schedule, and our division's going to be tougher this year. And that's what I saw. I was like, oh, man, 4 of the last 6 are in the division. And the games that they gave us that are non-divisional games are not gimme games.
No.
I mean, I think the Bills are probably not going to be as good as last year. They took quite a few losses on their team, Stephon Diggs being the biggest. They lost Gabe Davis, too. It's going to be interesting to see what their offense is like. You could have Josh Allen making even more mistakes. Kind of curious to see how that shakes out. But then you got that 49ers matchup, so that's in the middle there. So you're hoping that the division is, we're hoping we got it mostly lined up by then because it's going to be a tough little stretch there.
That's hard to do when most of your divisional games are that late, though, as well.
I agree. I think another tough stretch is week 6 through 10. You got 5 games during that stretch. 4 of them are on the road. You got at Cowboys, at the Vikings, so that's your first divisional game. You got the Titans in the middle, probably the easiest home game on the schedule that I'm expecting, at least out the gate here. Then you're at Packers, at Texans. So, I mean, that's a tough stretch, too. When you go 4 out of 5 weeks on the road in the NFL, it's going to be something that the boys are going to have to fight through.
Right.
The Lions play well on the road, though. They played well on the road last year.
The fans travel real well.
Yeah, and like making them half home games. It's going to be hard at the Cowboys to have a home game because the Cowboys fans always come out. Divisional games, Vikings. I don't think that we had as many show out there. Packers game, we pretty much owned that stadium last year.
Right. We showed out for Green Bay, not really in Minnesota.
So we'll see if the fans are still going to be out traveling. That'll be interesting to see how that goes. It was amazing what the fans did last year, home and away, but especially away, it was really noticeable. And when you can hear "Let's Go Lions" chants in an NFL stadium on the road, it's pretty special.
Right? You'd like to hear that.
Yeah, for sure.
The Vikings might have a different quarterback that week as well.
What I was thinking, too, with the Vikings and the Bears, we got them late, and I would have much rather had them early, or at least one of their games early with their rookie quarterbacks. Now, I don't know about J.J. McCarthy. I don't know when, it's much more likely he's going to be in towards the end of the season than the beginning of the season, at least in my opinion.
Yep.
Caleb Williams is going to start out the gate. I mean, he's a starting quarterback already. J.J. McCarthy, I'm not convinced that he's going to be the quarterback straight out the gate. I think that they're going to give Sam Darnold, and then depending on how their season lines up.
Right. Depends on how it's shaken out.
The more losses rack up, the quicker J.J. is going to be out there. It's going to be hard to root against J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, right. I know. One of those things, you want him to do well, but you want the team to not do well.
Exactly.
He can throw for 500 yards a game. Just let the Vikings lose. No, once that Vikings uniform's on, you gotta forget about the Michigan roots.
Yeah, I know. We root for Ohio State players like Taylor Decker. When they got the Lions jersey on, we forget about that, and it goes the other way too. You get a Michigan man in another jersey.
The love's still there. We just don't want you to win the game.
Yeah, that's right. No injuries.
You can play well. That's fine. Just as long as we come out on top.
So, is there anything else that you think's a tough stretch, or?
Not really. Those are the ones that jump out to me.
Yeah,
I agree with what you said. Got the Cowboys game. You're playing at Houston. You may have some easier games in between on paper right now. But even like you said about the Vikings, we don't know. That could be Darnold could be on his last breath of air. He might need to come out with a big game to keep the starting job. We don't know. Maybe he's already lost it by that point.
Yeah, those divisional games right there and that stretch are on the road, and I don't care who's the starting quarterback. I don't care what's going on. Those are just tough games. Divisional games are always, the opponent so well, and
right.
You're playing them at least 2 times a year, unless you get them in the playoffs or something like that. Say JJ, that might be his first start, let's say, because Sam Darnold's not working out or whatever. You have very little tape or know what Kevin O'Connell's going to do with JJ. You don't know what are they gonna let him run? Are they gonna do some RPO stuff? Or are they just gonna let him rip it because JJ's got a heck of an arm. We saw it at Michigan, and he can gun it. And
didn't get to unleash it a whole lot, but it's there.
No, it's there. And honestly, you got amazing wide receivers in Minnesota. Justin Jefferson top on the list. So
right, great spot for JJ to be in. Once again, we want you to lose. I want you to win Rookie of the Year, but I want you to lose.
All right. Jacob has laid it down on the
Get
line.
a draft pick in the middle of the round, so it's not even that good for next year.
What was your biggest surprise with the schedule?
I think going into it, I really thought the Lions-Cowboys was going to be a primetime game. They made it America's game of the week or whatever. It's a 425 game. But, you look at it after what happened last year, controversial ending, two really good teams. They show out really well. Their ratings numbers do good when we're on TV. It'd be the battle of America's teams. They're calling the Lions America's new team, the Cowboys America's old team. I really thought that was going to be a primetime game.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised about that too. I'm wondering if one of the networks just wouldn't give up the game. I don't know how much say they have on that, but I fully expected that to be at least a Sunday night football game. It could have been a Monday night.
Right. It just seems like it was built for primetime.
Yeah, I don't know, or maybe the NFL just didn't want that to showcase that just so that all that stuff from last year got brought up.
Yeah, their mistake. They don't want to be reminded.
Yeah. So I would like to talk about my biggest surprise. I was actually surprised that we're starting out with the two of the playoff games back to back, especially the Stafford game. I thought they would give a little more time for that to breathe, but apparently the NFL wants to bring that storyline right back up. I don't know if you know this or not, but Stafford used to be with the Lions and Goff used to be with the Rams.
Oh, no. That makes sense now.
I just found that out late last year when we hit the playoffs, No, seriously, they're going to want to hit that story again. I just don't think it's going to hit as well just because we was at the end of last season in the playoffs. So it's kind of interesting that they threw that right up. I understand the intrigue in that game. I just thought if they're going to put it on Sunday Night Football, I thought that they might put it a little bit later in the year and let that story breathe a little bit. And then following it up with the Bucs game, we played the Rams and then the Bucs in the playoffs. It's interesting. We're playing them 1 and 2 right away.
Might as well put the 49ers third and just relive it.
They could have done that, right? And that would have been really weird. I was also kind of surprised that they waited till week 17 to put the 49ers. I would think they'd want that a little bit earlier, but maybe they're counting on the Lions and the 49ers being a top 2 team, and maybe we're fighting for the 1 seed or, 1 or 2 seed in that
I think
game.
that's what they're banking on.
Yeah. I just thought that they might put it a little bit earlier because say one of us is out, say some quarterback for either team gets injured, that game may not hit as well late in the season.
That didn't stop them from scheduling Aaron Rodgers with 6 primetime games.
Do you think he'll make 4 plays this year, or do you think he'll get up to 5?
How hilarious would it be if on the 5th play, it's the other leg?
Oh, my God. I don't want to see anybody hurt.
Not that I ever wish. Right.
But
no. I don't ever wish injuries on anybody.
It'd be ironic. Wouldn't it be just... It would be crazy. And then Mike North, who writes the schedule, would be saying a lot of expletives to himself. Like, we did it again. We've just ruined the whole schedule again. At least for Jets fans, they won't have to see Zach Wilson in there.
Yeah, right. I'm sure they're happy with that.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. What was worse, seeing Aaron Rodgers go down or knowing that we got to go right back to Zach Wilson?
That probably honestly made it a little worse. They're like, oh no, we suck again.
Oh, I'm sure it was. So is there any other surprises that you saw on the schedule or something that just was a little head rattling?
I was kind of hoping we would get to see Caleb Williams and the Bears week 1. I thought that would have been a good opening game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could have been Sunday Night Football. Caleb Williams on his first game.
Number 1 draft pick and everything.
Lions have had bad luck with rookie quarterbacks in week 1. Not since the Dan Campbell era, but I'm just remember Sam Darnold.
Monday Night Football.
That was Matt Patricia's first game, I believe.
A sign of things to come.
Sign of things to come. And I remember Matt Ryan's first game was against the Lions, and he threw a touchdown pass on, I don't know if it was the first play, but it was very early in the drive. It was like a 50-yard play, and it was like beginning of the season, and, at that time you're so full of hope, Lions, and then it just gets dashed right away.
Back then it was false hope. Now we have legitimate hope.
Now I know the difference. I didn't know the difference back then. I just knew. I was like, we're starting out 0-0. This is going to be the year. This is what a real football team feels like. I don't think it's hope. It's reality that, we're a good team. I think we've gotten better than last year, and we made to the NFC Championship last year. It doesn't mean that, you're going to get to the Super Bowl just because you got better, but definitely doesn't hurt.
Right?
I'll be a Debbie Downer here. On the schedule, looking at all the teams that we face, what is the team that you think that we're going to lose to that should be a win?
I had to think about that really hard because obviously, as a Lions fan, you're like, we could win this game. Mm-hmm. We could win this game. I go through down here. The one that kind of jumped out to me is Indianapolis in November, and here's why. So the Sunday game, we're at Indy. Then we have a short week. Then we come home, Thanksgiving against the Bears. I feel like, especially late in the season, on top of just the mobile quarterback thing, if Anthony Richardson, he might be having a really good season at that point. Mobile quarterbacks give us, fits in the past. Hopefully we've alleviated that by then. But it's a short week. It's one of those things. Some guys are going to be banged up. They're not going to be 100%. Maybe we're looking forward to the Bears. We're looking at the divisional game. Some guys might not get as many snaps as they usually do, or they might just not play at all, just to play it safe. Let's set them out this one. That's the one that I'm looking at. We should beat the Colts. Full strength, we play the Colts week 1. I think we beat them 9 times out of 10 without issue. Late in the season with the other factors, that's the one that I'm thinking maybe they can pull an upset there.
Just to touch on the Anthony Richardson thing, we're going to see him and we're going to see C.J. Stroud next year. We're going to see a lot of young quarterbacks because not only that, then in our division, possibly seeing J.J. and definitely seeing Caleb Williams. Beyond just like watching for football, it'll be interesting just as an NFL fan just to see those guys. Depends if Anthony Richardson can make it that far. I mean, he hasn't even finished a full game. He hasn't played a full, complete game in the NFL yet. So, he's got to prove that he can, make it through injury-wise.
Right. Well, and it's later in the season. He could be fully healed and ready to go, or, he could already be aggravated and could already be out again.
You can have all the talent in the world. The old adage, the best ability is availability. It doesn't matter how talented you are if you're not playing. We'll see how that goes. My loss that should be a win is like very early, week 3, Arizona. We're going to be playing 2 playoff teams right away. We're going to have to travel over to the West Coast. Kyler Murray, mobile quarterback. Everyone's said, Lions struggle with that. Everyone struggles with a mobile quarterback. That's why teams want mobile quarterbacks. I just feel like, depending on what Marvin Harrison, how their connection with Kyler Murray is, just that first road game, you got to go on the West Coast. You've just had 2 playoff teams. It could be just a recipe for disaster and early on. But I fully expect Dan Campbell to have his boys ready, but sometimes those games just happen. So that's the one that I'm looking at, and I'm like, yeah, they should win this game. And I look at all the games, I'm like, yeah, we should win, all these
That's
games.
the problem as a Lions fan, especially when the team's good. You look at every game, it's like every game is winnable.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Which
just
ones,
feel like if you're a Chiefs fan, you got Patrick Mahomes. Every game, we should win every game because we have Patrick Mahomes. NFL's a tough league. Any team can beat any team, and it happens all the time. But, Lions should win. Like you said, 9 times out of 10, they should beat this Arizona Cardinals team. It'll be interesting. It just depends on how Kyler's playing. If you put down the controller long enough to work with Marvin.
Yeah. Week 3, they're probably already going to be getting in their flow right then. At least after that one, too, you got a little bit of a longer break because then you follow up that game Monday night against the Seahawks, and then that leads right into the bye week.
Yeah. It is nice that you get the bye after the Monday night game so that you get a break so you don't have that short week. So you got a longer week and then into the short week. And I'm glad
we only have the one short break, just that Indy to Chicago.
So now we're going to hit the big topic. This is what I'm really looking forward to talking about. We're going to talk about our top 5 games that we're looking forward to this season. Jacob and I have not shared with each other what our lists are. We're going to go from 5 down to 1. We're just going to talk about the games and we'll just kind of go all the way down to 1. Do you want to start or do you want me to start, Jacob?
You can go ahead first.
All right.
I have a feeling that we may have the same 5 games on this list. Maybe in some sort of variation. Yeah. I think we probably, at least 3 of these 5 are going to be the same.
You think so?
And there's no way the number 1 game's not the same for both of us.
I have a feeling about that, but we haven't talked, so that'd be...
Right, no, I don't know.
I put the Jaguars game number 1. Am I right? Am I in the ballpark?
I bet you did. They didn't make top 10.
Did they make the top 17 though?
Yeah.
Okay.
somewhere near the bottom.
Okay. I was just making sure a preseason game didn't jump it. I didn't know we are playing the Chiefs in preseason. So
yeah, right.
So number 5 for me, I have the Bears on Thanksgiving, week 13.
I have the same number 5.
Do you? All right. Cool.
Yeah, I swear.
That will be a good game, and I'm hoping we can break our streak of losing on Thanksgiving Day, especially it's a division game. Last year was a tough pill to swallow, losing to the Packers. Again, we're in a national audience. We want to prove ourselves. We want our respect. The quickest way to get respect is to win on national TV when you're the only game in the nation when a lot of the nation's watching you because you're the first game on Thanksgiving. So I'm looking forward to see the Bears. I fully expect them to be better this year. I mean, their receiving corps is it could be number one in the league, really.
Right.
To be honest with you, you have the rookie passer throwing to him, so who knows? Personally, Caleb Williams is not one of my favorites. The games that I watched him play, wasn't overly impressed with him. The fact that the Bears picked him is automatically a curse for any quarterback. They
Right.
still haven't had a 4,000-yard passer in the history of their franchise, so that doesn't bode well. So I'm looking forward to seeing Caleb Williams on Thanksgiving Day.
Right.
Hopefully, we're enjoying our turkey with a Lions win.
That's a big storyline for that too, because that's our first. We're welcoming Caleb Williams, the number 1 draft pick, to Detroit, and he's got to play on Thanksgiving, which is historically, that crowd gets crazy every week, but on Thanksgiving especially, they're hungry for a win.
Yep.
It is deeper into the season, obviously. At that point, he's either still going to have a lot to prove, or they're going to have a playoff spot on the line. So he's got to play well that game. That's a huge game for the Bears, which makes it a huge game for us. They think they have a quick turnaround, and they think they can contend for the division. We need to show them that they can't and that it's still ours.
Yep.
Side note, Swift, DeAndre Swift is now in Chicago. He is the 7th highest paid running back. So it would be very nice, assuming that he actually isn't injured and he's going to play that far into the season. It would be nice to shut him down and let Demo score a couple more touchdowns on the Bears.
Yeah, my quick prediction, the end of the game, Caleb Williams drives him down, throws it to DeAndre Swift in the corner of the end zone, and he drops it. Oh, wait, we already saw that.
Yeah, we've seen that happen
Yeah,
before.
we've seen that happen, and it was,
At Ford Field, too,
It
right?
did. It was right at
Yeah.
Ford Field, and it was, that was terrible. If you don't know what I'm referencing, it's DeAndre Swift's first game with the Lions, week 1, playing the Bears. Stafford finds him wide open. It's probably less than 10 seconds in the game or whatever. We had one more play after that because he just dropped it. I started with number 5. I'm going to let you start with first on number 4.
My number 4, the next one I have on my list I'm looking forward to is going to be the home game against the Seahawks on Monday Night Football.
All right.
Prime time, early on in the season, especially after last year. We were riding the high from the Chiefs win and really felt like we were going to win that game going into it. There was a pick six late in the game. We ended up going into overtime, and we kicked it to them in overtime. We never even got the ball back, right?
Yeah, no.
I didn't think we even got a drive in overtime. We got it, and
Gino took him right down, and it wasn't even really even a Lions defense did not put up a fight in that last drive, which was totally different than the last half of the fourth quarter in that game. The Lions defense finally took over. Anzalone sacked Smith, I think, down around the 1, but then the Lions came back in really weird fashion. They just played it really conservatively and just played for the field goal essentially to tie it up to go to overtime. Like you said, that was a deflating game. I was at that game up until the Rams game. That was the loudest that I'd ever heard Ford Field. It was so loud in there. Everyone was so ready because, like you said, we had just beaten Chiefs week 1, the previous year's champion. It was the first home game.
anticipation was probably all-time high at that point.
Oh, it was awesome. And then people weren't wearing ski masks because of CJGJ said the thing about the
Yeah,
villains.
right. Look forward to that game because they've really had our number. Looking back on it, we haven't beat the Seahawks since 2012.
Yeah.
That's a long time, and there's been, a lot of games in between that time, too.
Yeah, strangely, we seem to play them every year now. It's
Right.
weird.
We had a close loss. Last year we had the overtime loss. The year before that was a really high-scoring game,
Yeah.
but we lost that one, too.
That was just going back and forth. That was a track meet. That was crazy.
Right. No, we just, seems like we always come out on the other end of that, on the wrong side of it. We just don't do enough to get the job done. So I'm looking forward to that one. I want to put them away this year.
Yeah. So I'm going to go to my number 4. My number 4 is different this time. It's actually the Cowboys, week 6.
Okay.
Got that revenge game. Definitely the secondary is going to be better. Maybe we can keep CeeDee Lamb down. fully expect Aiden Hutchinson to get 3 sacks because he seems to always get 3 sacks versus the Cowboys. I'm ready for it. I'm ready to win this game. Just put them down. I think they're just going to come out and just say, we're not going to let it go down to the last play of the game this time. We're gonna go down there and beat you.
If you had to guess, when's the last time you think we beat the Cowboys?
Last time we beat the Cowboys. Wow. Was it the Stafford game? Was that it?
It was.
Yeah.
2013, Stafford with that sneak at the 1-yard line.
Yeah.
That was the last time the Lions beat the Cowboys. And the Cowboys was actually, that was my number 3.
Okay.
But, it's similar to the Seahawks in the sense where it feels like every time we play them, they have our number and we just can't get over that hump. Mm-hmm. The difference between them, though, is that we seem to have a lot of close games against the Cowboys. Yeah. And there's a lot of, different things that keep happening where we just keep coming out on the wrong end of it. The pass interference thing in the playoffs, the controversial call last year. I just hope that they throw Taylor Decker the ball. I don't care if it's for the first down, like on second down, just throw him the ball at some point. Get the man the ball.
Do you think that they just fool everybody and they just, throw it to Skipper and be like, I actually did report this time,
Yeah, right. I would be okay with that too.
I don't know who else, man. They could go with anybody. Just make everyone eligible. Everyone report eligible. Just confuse the referees. They'll have to give it to us this time. They'll just have to, and they'll be like, all right.
They can't make a mistake twice. They'll have to just give us this one.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, they owe it to us, right? We get one cheat during the Cowboys game.
Yeah, we get one free hall pass. I like it. I get it. Let's petition it. Roger Goodell, get on the phone. We're going to use our one cheat right now. So you just told us your number 3 is Dallas Cowboys, so I'm going to move on to mine. Mine is the opening game, Week 1, Rams, Sunday Night Football. I'm jacked to start the season on Sunday Night Football. That is really cool. I mean, the only thing that tops that, in my opinion, is getting that Thursday game like we did last year. Hopefully next year it's Thursday at home because we've won the Super Bowl. It's going to be so loud in there. The Jared Goff chants are going to be going crazy.
Yes. Yeah.
I really feel like it's going to be a playoff atmosphere. I'm getting goosebumps now just thinking about it. You're having Stafford in there. I like Stafford, but just like how we can't root for JJ and we can't root for McDonald over in Seahawks, can't root for Stafford in this case.
Not when we're playing him.
Not when we're playing him.
We could root for him in the Super Bowl. He won his.
Yep.
No. The hell out of the way.
Yep, exactly. It's our time now.
That didn't make my list, but only really because, the playoff game last year, the huge storyline when Stafford came to Detroit and everything. Goff got his revenge. We moved past them. Now it felt like an afterthought. But you're right. It is Sunday Night Football. It's Week 1. It's a big deal. And, of course, they're going to be talking about Stafford coming back. He's going to want to beat us, especially after last year. It's right back into it. Yeah. Like you said, playoff atmosphere, really. I mean, you have high hopes for the season for both of us. You want the playoffs. You want the Super Bowl. This is how it starts, just like the playoffs last year.
He did not like getting booed. Stafford did not like getting booed last year. I don't know what he thought was going to happen coming in the playoffs. We're not going to be throwing out the red carpet for him. I mean, I still like Stafford, but you're the opposing quarterback. And we're going for our first, playoff win in 30 years. So get out of the way. It's Jared Goff's team now. I mean, I'm sure that was hard for Stafford to hear everybody chanting Jared Goff. He wanted that. And, frankly, he deserved that during our time here.
Right. That's the thing that's tough is, he did play his heart out for a long time and just, didn't get the right people around him, wasn't able to make it happen. So, he's got to have some level of jealousy there to see the support for Goff and the team and everything.
Yeah, I don't know if I would even say it's jealousy for me might be the wrong word. It's just I really wish this would have happened for me. It's not like I'm jealous of Jared Goff. It's just that he wanted it and he frankly deserved it. He played hurt. He was a tough SOB. So, it's just a shame it didn't work out for him.
Right. He had the full support of Detroit when he was here.
Oh, yeah.
But, once you leave,
Well, I mean, even when he left, he had the full support of Detroit. It was, the Detroit Rams. I mean.
Right. For the Super Bowl.
I'm rooting for him. I was rooting for him at that point,
100%. I don't know anybody that wasn't. We all wanted him to win.
We all wanted him to win. And mine had nothing to do with the fact that I placed a $100 bet on the Rams to win the Super Bowl the night of the Matthew Stafford trade, and I won $1,200. Mine had nothing to do with that. No.
Yeah, right.
I just knew that was the Lions' luck at the time. We're going to trade this guy, and he's going to go win his Super Bowl, and it happened.
That was a safe bet then.
The tide has turned since that point, partly because of that trade, getting the capital and getting our quarterback. Let's move on to your number 2 game.
My number 2 game, I actually have the Green Bay Packers at home in Week 14.
Okay.
The last time they came to Detroit, it didn't end very well for us. Up until the Thanksgiving game last year, it kind of felt like the roles were reversed. We spoiled Aaron Rodgers last game as a Packer. We had beaten him the game before that as well. The season was going better for us than it was for them. Actually, I felt confident going into that Thanksgiving game. We had already beaten them earlier, how everything was going. It's like, I think we've got this one in the bag. I think I'm going to have a pretty good Thanksgiving.
Yeah, not only did we beat them, we beat on Thursday Night Football. We pretty much crushed them.
It was a great game for us. They come into our house on Thanksgiving, and it just felt like nothing was going right. It just didn't seem like it was Lions football. They came out right away. They scored that touchdown. I think we answered, but then it was just like all downhill from there.
Well, Jared Goff, they had that weird thing where Jared Goff threw a pass, but they called it a fumble.
Yeah, they called it a fumble and let it go.
It's like one of those plays where everyone just stops, and then the only one that runs is the guy that just grabs the football, and the only reason he's running is because the whistle hasn't blown. He's like, oh, okay, and then he just runs.
They don't blow the whistle because they don't want to ruin it, and then they look on replay and say, well, there's not really enough to overturn it, so we just handed them a touchdown.
That's what I hate about that. I understand why they let the play run, because, what if it is a fumble? The problem is you need, convincing evidence to overturn it. If you weren't going to call it in a it's like one of those 50-50 plays.
Right.
If you weren't going to call it a fumble first, then the evidence wouldn't be there to overturn it. But because you called it a fumble, because you're too afraid to, be wrong, then I'm not saying it's an easy job, but I don't think it's exactly fair the way that's the way that's
right.
called.
Yeah.
I'm obviously mad in that particular play just because it cost the Lions, but it just doesn't sit well with me, that kind of call. I get why they have to do it, but there's a better way to officiate that, in my opinion.
If you replay that in real time and try to make that judgment call, I think probably more often than not you say it was an incomplete pass.
Yep.
But, they call it a fumble on the field just because they, if they don't get a good angle or whatever, they let replay take it over. Well, then you go to replay and you have to overanalyze everything in slow motion, and then you really can't tell.
Right.
So like you said, it's 50-50. On the field's a fumble. They had to let it go.
Right. That play, the way it was happening so fast, I'm not fully convinced it was a fumble right now.
Right. It's one of those that could have gone either way, though. And then, we just came out on the wrong end, and it really... outside of that, so Goff got sacked, I think, 4 times that game.
Yeah.
He lost 3 fumbles, including that one that was kind of controversial, but he lost 2 other fumbles. It was I think it was later in the game. He tried to run for a first down. They tackled him. He dropped the ball. It's like, man, he finally tried to run for it, and this is what happens. It just, just everything just wasn't turning out. It was all going their way. We didn't sack Jordan Love one time. We didn't get much pressure on him.
Which was totally different than the first game, because the first game they started out the gate and they had his number.
This is just another one of those games that I have circled. This is another revenge game, a game I feel like we can win and we should win. And now that it's, this is week 14, so potentially there's a lot on the line with the division at that point, depending on how everything goes earlier. That's going to be a huge game. It's Thursday Night Football again.
Yep, only game on. We're going to be listening to Al Michaels, Kirk Herbstreit. Looking at his Thursday night schedule, he's got a little bit better schedule, so hopefully Al Michaels can stay up this time, because he seemed to be getting quite bored last year at certain points during the season. But
that's why I worry about you.
Yeah,
it's almost midnight right now. I can't believe you're awake.
Yeah, I know. That's all right. I took a nap today, so I'm good.
Yeah, right.
So I do not have the Packers as my number 2 game. The Next one, I went with a Sunday Night Football game on number 3. I also went with a Sunday Night Football game on number 2, the Houston Texans game. When I was a kid, Monday Night Football was the thing. That was what you were looking forward to every week. Now, to me, it's Sunday Night Football. I don't know if it's because I'm older, but it seems like they get more premier
Makes
matches
sense.
than the Monday Night Football game anymore. Seeing C.J. Stroud up there, we talked about getting to see a lot of the young quarterbacks this season. I'm excited to see him. Nico Collins, another Michigan person we root for outside of this game. I just want to see this Houston Texans team because I really equate with what's going on down there really strongly with the Lions. You know, a team that
Yes.
just couldn't seem to ever put it together. The Deshaun Watson thing looked like it was going to just destroy them. And somehow, you know, they lucked out. You know, Bryce Young went to Carolina, and they got C.J. Stroud.
Not unlike the Hutchinson thing for us.
Yeah,
You're right.
exactly. I mean, sometimes those things just work out, you know, whether they're meant to be or
They're the AFC Lions.
I don't have a lot of other teams I root for, and mine kind of change on and off just based on who's playing for them. But I do like the Texans, and outside of this game, I hope they do well. But that's kind of why I'm particularly glad to see this Sunday Night Football. This is going to be a heck of a game. I'm really looking forward
no, I
to
agree
this
with
game.
that.
So it's going to be, you know, we're going to have our hands full. You know, another quarterback that can run. I don't think C.J. Stroud, like that's not his primary game, but he can take off, and you have to be aware of that. They got great receivers down there. Their defense is playing solid. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to Lions proving that they can hang. So even if they got to go on the road on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, that was a good pick.
Yep. It was hard. I think your Packers game, as we talk more about these games, it was like, man, I'm really looking forward to that game too.
Right. We can just circle all these games, man. I'm ready.
So let's go to number 1. I'm pretty sure that both of us have the same number 1, but maybe not.
There's no way we don't have the same number
Yeah.
one. You know,
Yeah,
as soon as the schedule came out, you know who we wanted. We
Yeah.
want the
we
49ers.
do. Yeah.
We want that Monday Night Football, that Week 17.
Mm-hmm.
We want the redemption for the game we should have won last year. We had it in the bag.
Yep.
Let it slip away. If you're a Lions fan, that has to be the game that you're looking at. We want the Niners. We want that back.
It's going to be an important game. What could happen is we face them week 17. We may be facing that same team in a couple weeks in the playoffs. We need to show them that we're top dog. We're going to beat you in your place, just like we should have beat you in your place in the playoffs. You know, we just had a terrible third quarter, worst third quarter.
Right.
Something that teams struggle with, frankly, all season, that third quarter. I hope that's something that they really find the solution to this year. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was something that just was a coincidence. I'm not sure, but our offense seems
It's
to
the
stall.
other team making better adjustments or something and just takes us till the fourth to kind of adjust to that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not sure exactly, but you're right. It just seems like we were a good fourth quarter team, but not third quarter.
Yeah.
And this is one of the times it just was too much to overcome.
Yeah, I don't know if their philosophy changed. We got this other team where we want them, and then they just either on offense took the foot off the gas because they didn't want to make a mistake, or I couldn't pinpoint it, and obviously they couldn't either because they would have fixed the problem. I don't know if it was something just internally they just didn't plan well because the Lions usually on their first drive in the first quarter pretty good. They're usually go down and they put up a fight on that. If they don't score, they're at least getting a couple first
Yeah,
downs.
they're threatening right away.
And, you know, and you get a score, you putting the pressure on them. Same thing in the third quarter, man. The other team, like in that Saints game, when they came down, Saints scored, you know, we pretty much controlled it. But then the other team scores, and if you go 3 and out or you don't get a couple first downs and their team scores quick, that's 14 points real fast. And then the pressure starts to mount, you know, and that's
Big
tough.
momentum swing.
It is, and especially when you're, you know, if you're not playing in your home stadium, you know, it really compounds because then the crowd just like that you've taken out of it because you've dominated the first half, all of a sudden back in it, and it's a different game at that point. So I think let's not have a bad third quarter in this Week 17 match. Let's just do like we did in the first 2 quarters and just dominate the heck out of that team. We were so close to the Super Bowl. I mean, so close.
Very close. Felt like we were going to make it there.
A lot of people thought we weren't going to hang with the 49ers to begin with. There was a lot of talk about, you know, okay, this is the end of the road of the Lions. They've hit
Right.
the 49ers. So it made it extra tough that we just like said no. In the first half, we're like, no, we belong here. Well, we belong to be in the Super Bowl. We're a top team. And then just to be a helmet bounce and amazing catch, and then Jameer fumble right afterwards. That was a hard pill to swallow.
I think for any NFL fan, though, if you're looking at the schedule, like which games are exciting, which ones are you looking forward to, I think most people really want to see Lions and 49ers.
That's why it's a kind of a shame that it's all the way at the back end of the season. It's all
right.
Seems like so long away. When the season starts, it'll come up quick enough because the season always seems to go by super fast. I'm sure that all the Lions players, they know they were looking for when are we playing the 49ers. When the schedule come out, they want to know when are we playing the 49ers. Right. I'm sure.
We got to get that one back.
Yep. So, all right. So we went through our top 5. Few differences in there. I don't know how I don't have the Packers in my top 5 because I just like seeing them lose so much, even when they're not playing the Lions. So
it's fun to hate on the Packers.
The last thing that I really want to comment is every year the Lions media team, which is an awesome group, they always put out something real cool, do a schedule release video. I watched it. You watched it. We haven't talked about it, so I don't even know what you thought about it. Did you like it?
I thought it was good. I mean, it was nothing too over the top. Some of the teams went really like above and beyond with some of the things they did.
Yeah.
But ours was just classic. The two comedians from Detroit going over it. It was funny. It was quick. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I liked it too. I think last year's topped it. I liked the video game, the AI voices. That was really unique, and just some of the stuff they let Brad Holmes and Nick Campbell say. I was surprised in the video last year. That was really funny. But I've watched it like this video 2 or 3 times, and at first I guess I was just kind of disappointed because I thought last year's was so creative, but the more I watch it, it's really funny. And then Tim Robinson yelling about the Fanatics giving out the jerseys early.
Yeah, right.
We are going to do an attack ad on Fanatics because they leaked the jersey before it came out. What are you doing? That's not yours to give out!
Those guys are funny. And it's cool that they're from Detroit. They're Lions fans.
So it's obvious that they're huge Detroit sports fans. It's nice that, they want to do this stuff. So I think that's about it, unless there's something you need to add in there.
No.
All right. I want to thank everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Have a great day, and go Lions.